I guess shortening timelines cuts directly to water quality. I know that the question was asked by the representative, does this bill do anything to change water quality standards or do anything to weaken the Clean Water Act? The answer was no. At the same time, if there's no time to review some of the things that are happening as it relates to our water, obviously the potential to impact our water quality is there. Real simple analogy would be if we shorten classroom teaching hours, are we going to see achievement levels fail and are diminish in our students? Absolutely. The timeline is very important to ensure there's integrity in the way we approach and review the things that are presenting themselves. And limiting ASNRI designation, to me, that doesn't remove ambiguity in anything. It's a way to get around the fact that water is complex, ecologically expansive, and ultimately it's not about where the water currently sits, it's about the journey that it was on to get to that point. And scenic rivers are part of that journey. Trickles, streams, tributaries are part of that journey. And from again, from our perspective, looking big picture from a mining filter, that's a very important consideration to keep intact. So just as I think I heard earlier, SB177 was folded into this, one of our fears is that we will see this folded into future mining law. And again, that is ultimately something that, as a people who are going to be impacted in a very significant way, we're very concerned about. So the last thing I would like to make as a point is essentially that on behalf of the 11 tribes who formed the Great Lakes Indian Fish and Wildlife Commission, there is a court case, Akutere versus Wisconsin from 1989, that has stipulations for consultation with the 11 tribes. Defendants agree, the defendant being Wisconsin, to consult with the Boyd Task Force, a subsidiary of all the 11 tribes in Glipwood. The defendants agree to consult with the Boyd Task Force before the issuance of any permit which is required to be obtained from the state regarding any activity which may be reasonably expected to directly affect the abundance or habitat of wild rice in the territory. Culverts, piers, dredging, sulfate pollution all affect wild rice. But in addition, there's another stipulation. The defendants agree to consult with the Boyd Task Force before the issuance of any permit which is required to be obtained from the state regarding any activity which may be reasonably expected to directly affect the abundance or habitat of any plant in the ceded territory. When we think of plants, I think we always think about plants that are grown on land, but obviously I heard a question from Representative Nora earlier that talked and spoke to the notion of aquatic plant species. And so I would put forth very respectfully that looking at what's contained in SB24, I'm very hopeful that we will see some meaningful consultation with all the 11 Ojibwe tribes in northern Wisconsin on potential impacts and ramifications. And a lot of that conversation will probably center around those issues based in science. So, on behalf of Tribal Council here, I would like to say thank you for the time you took to listen to us today, and in our language, I would say which. Essentially,
thank you. Questions from members? Representative Madison.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Wiggins, Mr. Chairman, for being here. Could you tell me, did the Bad River Band and the Lake Superior Chippewa Indians or any other Indian tribe in the state of Wisconsin, to your knowledge, help in the drafting of this legislation, or were they consulted in the drafting of legislation?
No, the answer is no. And we did meet with Governor Walker to put forth some environmental principles that we thought would be very relevant to mining law, but also very relevant to those types of legislative initiatives that centered around water, air. First and foremost, was the notion that, again, legislative initiatives should be based in science and on legal principles such as due process, the ability of public recourse, public interest, public rights.
And just finally, this bill is about helping the business community and those interested in those applications that need a permit to see speed, etc. You testify that you're against the bill as presented. What do you expect the legislature should be the response from your tribe or any other tribe in the state as it relates to your ceded rights, your rights under treaty and under federal law? How will you proceed?
Well, I think the first thing is one of the concerns that registered was essentially along the lines of what we heard earlier today. That is, you're decreasing the timeline of the permitting process, thereby increasing the speed of the permitting process, while decreasing DNR administrative capacity. That seems to be a discrepancy that doesn't make a lot of sense. Again, from our filter today, from a mining perspective, it flies in the face of that whole notion of environmentally responsible or any type of actions. Again, I'll go back to the Great Lakes Indian Fish and Wildlife Commission has been co-managing natural resource areas up in northern Wisconsin with the DNR in a very positive way that's been mutually beneficial. That co-management has been completely based in science and from a perspective of sustainability, preservation, and ultimately in the interests of the natural resources. That
accurate to say what I've understood for a long time, that the Bad River, the mouth of the Bad River, is considered one of the finest examples of a freshwater estuary in the world.
Absolutely. The Bad River watershed in general is a gem. We've been putting forth that as something for Wisconsin to be proud of. Catawba Slough Estuary is over 16,000 acres of pristine wetland. It's unlike any other area that you can find in the Superior Basin. And we take a tremendous amount of pride in the fact that we haven't been tempted by economic development initiatives that would impact the integrity of our homeland's environmental base. And we're shouldering that economically, socially, but at the same time, it's a 7 generations vision that looks out 100 years from now. So
One word to describe that is one of the crown jewels of Wisconsin water resources. You wouldn't be too far wrong.
Absolutely not. It's internationally recognized. And the final comment I would say is essentially that to even discuss notions of groundwater contamination is really interesting because we're talking about water that is under the ground, 1,000 feet deep, maybe 150 feet deep, but it completely ignores the fact that most of our human evolution was centered around people that could drink surface water. And so we ignore how much we've already lost and actually allow ourselves to talk about potential impacts to the groundwater table. That's an unbelievable slippery slope that we should really try to catch ourselves on